Hello everyone and welcome to Fifth North. I'm Demir and today we're going to talk about 10 cool features that can be found on the 2023 Triumph Rocket 3R. Alright, so I'm back on the Rocket 3R today. This is my second ride out. If you guys haven't caught it, 2 videos back I put out the first ride video, and if you watched that video, you would have kind of seen me just getting familiar with the bike, taking it home for the first time, and just kind of getting a good overall feel for it. So, I didn't really get a chance to push the bike too much. Obviously, when it's not your motorcycle and it's the first time that you're riding it, you definitely want to be careful and, just take your time to get to know the bike. As I had a chance to walk around the bike, look at it, I noticed a couple of really cool things about the Rocket 3, and I wanted to share that with you. So here's 10 features of the bike that I think are pretty cool. So first and foremost, really cool to me is anytime a bike has a single-sided swing arm. So as you know, for most bikes, you'll have a bar here, so it'll be two parts to the swing arm, right? It's kind of like a fork with the wheel in the middle. On the Rocket 3, obviously, that's not the case. You have the swing arm on one side, and then you've got the open side of the wheel on the other, which to me, that just looks really cool. There's a couple of bikes out there in the world that do that, this being one of them. And when you have that setup, you kind of get to show off the wheel a lot more, and it looks more like a car wheel than it does a bike wheel. So in this case, Triumph has a really nice wheel on the Rocket 3. Nice big size, the 16-inch by 6.5, I believe. So definitely a nice wide wheel and tire combo. Looks really good, and again, anytime I see a bike with a single-sided swing arm, I just get pretty excited. So definitely a cool look. Now, speaking of the single-sided swing arm, another cool thing about the Rocket 3, this is number 2 on the list, is they take that one step further. So Triumph decided to not only have the single side, but in this case, they also decided to, instead of having a chain drive, right, most motorcycles have a chain that's driving from the engine and transmission to the rear wheel. This bike is actually a shaft drive. So there's actually a shaft like you would have on a car, for example, where it goes from that transmission or that transfer case into the actual drive line of the wheel. And so a couple of things that happen here. One is you have no chain, right? So there's no chance of a chain breaking, a chain being loose, or any of that kind of stuff. And the other thing is, I just feel like the power feels more direct, and it's really cool on this bike because it makes so much torque. You can definitely feel it, and I do believe that having the shaft there makes it even more pronounced on this bike. So definitely a cool setup here. I think it really complements that single-sided swing arm. All right, so number 3 on the list of 10 cool things from the Rocket 3R. All the Rocket models have this. I think it's really cool. Is you think about keys. Nowadays, most cars have, push button start, remote keyless entry, all that kind of stuff, and motorcycles for the most part still have a regular traditional key. The Rocket 3 actually has a key fob, which I think is really cool. It does have a key in it, right? So you can actually switchblade the key out and use it to unlock different things. But for the actual operation of the bike, it is just a key fob. You can put it in your pocket, anywhere on you, and the bike will actually start up no problem, just like a push start car would. So definitely a cool feature, I think. I've personally never been on a different motorcycle before that's had this. I'm sure there's others out there, but definitely unique in the motorcycle world, because again, they typically just have a regular key. So another cool feature on the Rocket 3. All right, so number 4 on the list of cool features of the Rocket 3. Speaking of the wheel, we're going to talk about the tire. So the tire on this bike is a 240 60/16, which is absolutely massive for a motorcycle. And what's really cool about this specific tire, it was actually custom made for the Rocket 3. So it's definitely a unique tire. Has a really cool tread pattern. It's got some UK accents that you can see right here in the flag, or at least looks like the flag to me. Cool tread design, and then the width of it is especially made for this bike. So it's made wider than your standard motorcycle tire, just to accommodate all the extra power and extra torque that this bike produces. So kind of a cool thing to know that this specific tire and size were made for this bike specifically. All right, so number 5 on the list, and this is something that I don't often share, but you might have picked up on in my videos. I'm not a huge fan of two-up riding. I'm not a huge fan of having a passenger. I feel like it takes a very special passenger to know how to be a passenger, to properly lean, to properly hold on, to properly do all the things that you're supposed to do as a passenger, as a backpack as they call it, to make the ride work. Some passengers will actually make riding difficult because they don't know what to do. And then also too, I just feel like it's extra weight, less agility on the bike when you're riding with 2 people. So I personally almost never ride with a passenger. So with that being said, the back seat and the passenger pegs to me are typically wasted space and added weight. And plus, I feel like on most bikes, the passenger foot pegs just look like a afterthought or an add-on, and they just kind of look ugly and take away from the really cool, sleek look of the bike. So what I love about the Rocket 3 is they actually thought of that. And if you look at the passenger pegs, well, there aren't any. You look at the back of the bike and there's no passenger pegs. The bike is completely clean looking, smooth, no funky sticking off pegs to be seen. But then when you have a passenger, you actually can just reach in, grab this part right here, and out of nowhere it unfolds in two pieces. You've got the one part, the second part, and look at that. Just like that, you've got passenger foot pegs. So to me, shout out to Triumph for this. Really cool design. I wish more motorcycles did this, where you can have passenger pegs, but they're not just hanging there looking funny. They're hidden, they're tucked away. In my opinion, this is probably one of the cleanest implementations of passenger foot pegs that I've ever seen. So again, hats off to Triumph for this one. All right, so number 6 of the list of 10 cool things on the Rocket 3 that I really like. This is another one of those things where it's just clean, simple, and smooth, right? I like motorcycles, engine bays, performance cars, all those things that are made nice, clean, and simple. I love it when people find ways to eliminate all the excess and just have it be very efficient. And one of the things about motorcycles that I don't like to see is when there's a bunch of wires everywhere. There's a bunch of wires all over the bike, sticking off, not properly tucked in, whatever the case might be. It needs to look good. And in the case of the Rocket 3, the handlebars are actually wired internally, which is kind of a crazy idea if you think about it. If you look at the setup right here, there's only 2 cables sticking out on each side of the handlebars. Now, other bikes that I've ridden, they've had 3, 4, 5, up to 10 extra wires around the handlebars, tied, zip tied, connected in different ways. And if you look at these handlebars, there's literally nothing on them but the 2 main lines. Everything else is actually wired internally, and it gives a really clean look to the bike. So once again, great decision by Triumph here. I do love how that looks. All right, so number 7 on the list of 10 cool things about the Rocket 3 is going to be the gauge cluster. So if you check it out, it is actually a digital gauge cluster. It does tilt up and down, so it does let you have that angle for better vision, sunlight, whatever the case might be. What I like about the gauge cluster is it does fully adjust, and you can actually pick different settings. So there's 2 different main themes you can pick between. There you can also change the the darkness contrast. You can change which auxiliary gauges are shown, so you can have things like your trip meter, your fuel mileage, and you can see I'm just kind of shuffling through here, but you got the different menu options on the side. On one side you can have the main gauge, you got the main gauge in the middle, you got the gauge on the side. So really it's 3 different sections you can kind of customize and pick what you want. And the other thing that's really cool is there's the overall theme change. So right now I just switched over from Chronos to Quartz, so 2 different main themes. Yeah, it just kind of gives you a little bit more customization, a little bit more personality when it comes to your bike. And then obviously picking what information you want handy is really cool as well. All right, so number 8 on the list of cool things on the Rocket 3. I do love the lighting on this bike. Everything is LED from the factory, which is really cool. And then I love the shape they chose for the daytime running lights. It's got this weird like half circle, almost mask looking thing. It's like a half circle with the cut in the middle, but just a cool look overall. And I think it adds to that just kind of cool look of the bike. And again, turn signals are LED, brake lights are LED, everything is LED. So really nice choice here. And again, the DRLs I think have a really cool look to them. All right, so number 9 on the list here is the exhaust system. So right off the bat, if you look at it, it is a massive looking exhaust system. And I say looking because it really is not tucked in, it's not hidden. A lot of bikes, the exhaust is hidden underneath the bike or hidden in the fairings. On this bike, it's just really loud and in your face. And I love the look of it, right? You've got the exhaust coming right off the engine on the side. You've got all 3 pipes coming out. It looks really nice the way that Triumph did it. In my opinion, as far as aesthetics go, 95 to 99% of factory exhausts just look ugly. They really don't care about the look. They care about emissions. They care about sound control. I feel like look is the very last thing they worry about. And I think on this bike, the look is done very well. So you've got the 3 pipes coming out of the side. Out of those 3 pipes, 2 of them will actually come out on this side. So you've got 2 exhaust pipes on your right side as you're sitting on the bike. But then what's cool is the 3rd pipe actually goes underneath, and you have a single pipe on the other side of the bike. So essentially you've got an exhaust on both sides of the bike. One side gets 2 with the 3 main, I guess you'd call them header pipes, and then you've got the 3rd exhaust on the other side. So really cool setup having it on both sides and then having it look that good from the factory. All right, so last but not least, number 10 on the list of 10 cool things about the Rocket 3R and just any rocket in general is going to be the engine. I mentioned it a little bit in that first video that I made about this bike. The engine is absolutely insane. At the time of this video, it is the largest production motorcycle engine in the world. We're talking about 2,458 cc's or a 2.5 liter engine. It's a 3-cylinder, makes 165 horsepower, and then more importantly 163 foot-pounds of torque, which is pretty unheard of in motorcycles. Normally if you have that much horsepower, you've got almost no torque. So for this bike to have both the torque and the horsepower, really cool. And then if you look at it, I mean, the entire bike is the engine. I mean, this thing is just massive on this bike. So really cool looking, definitely gives a cool feel and cool look to the bike. And then obviously a lot of power to, to back it up. Alright, so that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed the list. If I missed anything that's really cool about the bike, if you currently own or have ridden a Rocket 3, feel free to drop it down in the comments below, and we can start a little conversation there. But with that being said, if you like this video, hit the like button for me, and if you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button as well, as it does help my channel out quite a bit. Definitely got plenty more riding to do with this bike. It's a whole lot of fun, as you guys can see. I've been enjoying it more and more. Unfortunately, right now it's really cold out and it's really windy, so not getting to do as much as I want with it. But as the sun comes out, the rain stops, the cold gets bearable enough, I'll make sure I keep taking it out and having some more adventures on it. With that being said though, I hope you have a great night, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.